Hi, Captain Ned here again, and here we are back with another episode of the Eagle 3 project. Breaking news, as much as it sort of pains us to say this, she is up for sale. Eagle 3 is now up for sale, and maybe you could be the next custodian of this beautiful, beautiful boat. Michael has decided to do it again with a different vessel this time, and so he is moving out of Eagle 3 and we're going into something very, very unique hopefully with a lot of maritime history in it. So look out for that one coming up. But anyway, moving on. So now we've got the project which was taking the engines out. Now, usually we start with the keel up and from the inside out. Michael wanted his lipstick on first on the boat, and we did that, so we got it all looking beautiful. But as you'll be aware, you usually start from the keel up and the inside out. So now this is engine out time. It would have been beautiful to do an awesome full rebuild of those gorgeous, gorgeous old Volvos. But parts is now becoming a real problem. So we did a partial rebuild. We did all the peripheries of the engines, heat exchangers, all those sorts of things, made sure everything was right, and alternators, and cleaned out. And you can see some of the cooling systems needed a lot of work, but those old engines, they had some real restrictions in the cooling galleries, but she just kept running and running and running. It's been going solidly for over 40 years. And if we had have been able to do a full rebuild of those engines, we did quite substantial work. We did quite substantial work on those engines. So they're really healthy and their compression numbers all checked out. But having had done a full rebuild, we probably would have been running them for another 40 plus years. So they just keep going. And the other thing too is one of the favorite things about Eagle 3 and everybody loves is that sound, the sound of those big Volvos powering through the water. So cleaning out the engine room, we got an opportunity to clean it out completely, and also gets access into the rewiring of the engine room, and also insulation. There was no insulation in some areas of the boat, so we really increased the insulation. So it's a lot quieter boat inside now. All right, so this is what's underneath those engine beds, and it's really nasty. These will all have to be replaced, rebogged, and worked out properly. As you can see, this is just bog. This is rusty stuff that's embedded into the bog, but we'll clean all that up, get that done. These old skin fittings, while we've got the opportunity, this is an old transducer. I think it's a good idea to plug that one underneath Scott's foot there. Someone's done it in the past, but that's just some putty. That's not safe. So we need to fix that and get those bolts out of there and get all that done up properly. We've got the engine battery box here, which the back part sort of fell out of. So we need to build a proper battery box there, and then clean up all of this stuff, get rid of that old transducer piece of rubbish there. And that's the opportunity we have now, is to clean up this. Shemi gave this all a really big clean. This is actually clean from what it was. The photos from before were pretty horrific. We've had that hatch put in the floor to see what was under there. This is all pretty good, isn't it, Scott? Underneath there, it's okay. We've put a drain plug in through the hull here, so we can drain out and wash out. And then, like I said, the insulation needs to be replaced, obviously, but yeah, all this will get cleaned up. Clean all this sort of gaff up as well, get all that clean. Actually put some insulation in underneath these here as well, because there's no insulation here in these spaces, which means you're going to get a lot of noise coming up through here, up through that, or up through here into these cabinets. So everything's going to be a lot quieter, but now we've got the engines out, it really gives us an opportunity to fix it. And I'll go and show you some photos of what these things look like when they came out. But these engine beds were near catastrophic failure. I've got Marcus coming in to have a look at these tank, and I'm getting to fix that filter back there. You see that filter there? That's busted. He's replacing it with one of those. but also get him to give us an idea on what it would be to have a bigger black water tank, because we've got all this massive room here, so we can actually put the next size black water tank in if you so wish. Right, so now we're going through, the engine out, and we had to get the the engine bed brackets out because they were just a ball of rust, and thankfully we took it all out. And we knew the engine beds were a little bit sus, and they were mentioned, I think, in the survey, but when we took it out, they were just almost gone. So they were getting close to a point of really letting the whole process down, the whole structure of the engine installation down. So they had to be all remanufactured and replaced. Engines are out, still out. Putting that in, there's the black water tank. That's the new black water tank going in that spot there. Because the old black water tank was one, buggered, and also too small. So now the back doors of the boat, now that was such a tense moment. It's like, now these things are vessels of heritage. Now I see these as heritage vessels. Now we work with heritage vessels a bit and we've been involved in that space, but I see these as being that sort of heritage of, ocean going weaponry. Now cutting the back transom out of a Bertram 35 is, let's say it can be a little bit political and a little bit tense, because it's one of those jobs, like the swim platform, like the hard top, you get the opportunity to do it once and do it right. And putting, I guess you call saloon doors in the back of a boat, you can just muck it up and make the whole thing look horrendous. So there was much discussion. You see some photos here of everyone standing around the back, and a bit of head scratching and time spent in working it out. We took some examples around, and there was I think it was hull one of a Palm Beach 50, which we looked at as the way it sort of opened and the doors opened in, and they were sort of curved into each other, as you'll see in the next episode, I believe. That was such a tense moment, and also the swim platform, which we discussed last time. But you can see the cutout and the measurement and balancing the cutout and working out the angles and lines again, so it all looked like it was meant to be. And I believe we've done that. When you look at the back of Eagle 3 now, it looks like it was meant to be that way. And that's what you have to do in these projects. You have to make it look like it was meant to be from the outset. So it's, I'd say the purist might disagree with me this, but I think Eagle 3 now actually looks better than out of factory. So she's still very true to her heritage and to her history, but she's now just obviously another level altogether, but still retaining the, it hasn't been customized to a point where you can't sort of look at it and just go, that is a Bertram 35 Series 1. So yeah, tense moments again, cutting the back out of a boat, but the amount of strengthening, which you can see here, the amount of strengthening that had to go in, because you're cutting out the transom, and the transom's bridged across, that creates a lot of strength. So you're taking that strength out, you have to actually put the strength back into that square. So a lot of glass work had to go into that, and a lot of stiffening of things and building, and so it was quite an extensive project. But the guys at Sandringham Marine again just did an awesome job, and I believe Andy Watson did all the final paint work, and just great job, guys. Okay guys, here we are at Mariner Engineering, and I've just come up to have a look at the engines for the Just popping in here to have a look at the engines from the Bertram 35, which are out here. Thankfully, it gives a lot more room to work. Then we've got the gearboxes. You can see the restriction that was in some of these gear things. But look at these engines, mate. They're 40-something years old and they're still going strong. So here they are, out. Heat exchangers open there. Pump system, so they're all getting cleaned up. Heat exchangers all cleaning up. Injectors are out and they're off getting serviced. We'll leave the injector pump this time. Maybe grab that next time. So, but these things are just still going. And what's amazing is when you see some of the restriction of some of these fittings of these older engines. Look at that. That was still pulling water through it and still keeping that component of the engine cool. That is amazing when you consider that this is what it should look like. It's unreal, isn't it? So these old engines could be easily seen in a tractor or a truck. They just keep on keeping on. The unfortunate thing about these though is full rebuilds are becoming harder and harder because of parts, or the unavailability of parts, especially things like manifolds and heat exchangers. That's a heat exchanger, header tank. So yeah, they're the engines out of the Bertram 35, and if we could, it'd probably be lovely to do a full resto on those. Hey Brian, how you going? The problem is it's getting harder and harder to get main components like exchangers and things like that. All right, so there we are. Those big, beautiful Volvo Pentas. All right, guys. Well, I think we're coming up to the last. We're coming up to the last, maybe 1 or 2 episodes left. Then beyond that, thank you so. And also, I want to say at this moment, thank you so much for your interest. It's been great response. We've got, a few hundred people watching this series. So, in respect for that, for your time coming and watching this, I'd like to offer a live Q&A session. We want to get some feedback on this. So the live Q&A session would be a Zoom session. Yeah, we have a lot of people in the States, in the US, looking at this, as well as here in Oz. So we'll probably have 2 sessions, time zone friendly. But give me some feedback on that. So if you want to just say, yes, I'm in. If we get enough, we get a few people, 10 or more, whatever, to do that, I'll do a live Q&A session so you can pick my brain on the project. So, all right, hope that's all been awesome again, and looking forward to speaking with you next time. Okay, bye for now.